Welcome back, guys, to the next live interview on FTEN X Academy. I hope you guys are having an amazing week. We had an amazing interview yesterday, and today it's all about inspiring you guys. So I think you're going to really, really enjoy this one. I'm here today with Leanne Spencer. Leanne is the founder of Bodyshot Performance. She's an expert in corporate well-being, an author and podcaster. So we are starting the Inspiring Pivot series off, and it's all about hearing incredible stories from small businesses that have managed to pivot online rapidly right in the middle of the global pandemic. So Leanne, your team works with big businesses to enhance employee well-being in the office, and I believe your projects were previously delivered on site, sort of face-to-face. And under a month, the business has launched a well-being portal. Is that correct?
Yeah. That is correct. I mean, there's a bit more, we can flesh that out, but yeah, in essence, that is it. Yeah, we've had to be pretty quick, as have many businesses.
So you've just been recently featured on entrepreneur.com. So there's an amazing article on entrepreneur.com with 9 businesses that have been featured. I was privileged to be part of that as well. And what we've managed to do is to speak to every single business that's been featured on entrepreneur.com for pivoting rapidly. And obviously yours was one of them. So I really appreciate you coming on and helping our community with inspiring them to pivot online.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Yep. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem at all. So first of all, just tell us a little bit about your business. You know, what is it you're doing? What you were doing before the pandemic hit, before the lockdown occurred? And what kind of led you to that?
Yeah, so I mean, Bodyshot's had an interesting evolution. I won't go back and do it blow by blow, but we started out 8 years ago as a personal training company. And then we got busy doing that because we were very good at it, but we realized 2 things. One, fitness is just one component of health. It's broader than that. It's far broader than that. So we created a methodology called the 6 Signals, where we look at sleep, mental health, energy, body composition, digestive health, and fitness. So that was one aspect. We thought personal training is just a small component in what we're trying to achieve. We need to be broader. We need to be bigger. And the other is that people were arriving with us to us for a session in the park. What they really need to do is take their rucksack off their back, both metaphorically and literally, and put it down and go for a walk and have a chat. So we didn't think we were serving people particularly well doing that face-to-face personal training time for money model. We then thought, well, aside from the 6 Signals methodology and going much broader in our definition of health, how about we go into businesses and try and change the health of an organization? Instead of doing it person by person, we go in and we try and do it on a large scale. And that was our first major pivot. And so at that point, we were offering workshops, face-to-face workshops, delivered primarily by me, but a couple of members of my team as well. We had a portal, a wellbeing portal, but we weren't really leveraging it. We'd had it in with 1 or 2 clients, but we weren't really leveraging it. And very recently, I'd created a guide for a management consultancy firm, which is a 61-page document with everything you need to understand about well-being in a corporate environment. So sleep, mental health, energy, connection, resilience, self-care, this kind of stuff. And that was predominantly what we were doing. We had an audit service, but we haven't really done very much of that. And then we have a health MOT, which is working with the leaders of businesses. But that isn't something we particularly leverage. We were doing pretty well with our workshop side of the business. The pandemic hits, and all of a sudden we realized that we're actually sat on these assets, but we're not using them to our advantage. So we were privileged in the sense that we had them, but we needed to build on them, and we needed to make sure we got out to market. Instead of talking about face-to-face workshops or talking about health MOTs for leaders, suddenly we've got to talk about how to improve the health of every single person in the organization, but they're no longer in one place. So that's kind of, what we were doing and what we're doing now. And essentially the purpose of the business is very simple. It's to create happy, healthy, and resilient teams. That's
happy,
it.
Healthy, and resilient teams. I love that.
Yeah, that's the purpose.
What I find quite interesting. I mean, a lot of my work in Dubai right now is mentoring small business to help them pivot online. And in times of crisis, it sounds like this is exactly what you did. In times of crisis, you almost always go back to your values and your purpose.
Yeah.
If everything's been taken from you, you almost have a chance to pause, reflect, and reset and think,
Yeah.
why am I doing this in the first place? What is it I'm doing? What do I want to achieve with it? And it's almost as if, those values are a bit of a compass for you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, I would. I mean, we've got 5 values. The first one is to help first, and we do a lot with regards to that value. Yeah, they are a compass. They are guiding. Very recently, about a year ago, I got 2 tattoos. I won't. It's not that I can't show you them, but they're on my arm, and I won't go to the lengths of taking the t-shirt off. And one of them is "To thine own self be true," but it's written in a code, so it just looks like a jumble of alphanumerics. But it's "To thine own self be true," and that's designed to be a bit of a guide. If ever I've got a tough decision to make, look to the left arm. That would be the guiding principle. And values are the same. I'm not suggesting people get their values tattooed to their body, although they could. But that would be perhaps a bridge too far. So values definitely guide you. They should guide every decision that you make in your personal life and your professional life as well. The simple question is, when faced with a decision, how does it play out against our values? And you'll pretty soon know, well, our values are to help first. Are we helping? A value is to be humbly confident. Are we behaving in a humbly confident manner? And other values to have creativity and dreams, and have everything be about that. Is that the case? So they definitely guide your decision making, for sure. And I have to tip my hat to Daniel Priestley. I know we were talking about him off air, who's the founder, one of the co-founders of Dent, whose accelerator we've both been through. Because very recently he recorded a video showing what he'd done as what he calls Dent 2.0, how his business has pivoted to reflect today's times. And he'd gone back through mission, values, and purpose. So I thought, lying in the bath, which is what I was doing, I thought, yeah, we need to rethink ours. Values haven't changed, but our mission has, and our purpose has changed.
Right. So same values,
Yeah.
and in terms of outcome, the outcome you want to achieve with your clients has stayed the same, and it's just the delivery which has changed. Is that correct?
It's changed slightly in that our focus now is entirely on businesses, and that's another relatively new thing. Before we had a split business, we'd work with you on an individual basis, so a busy professional wanting to work with us for 3, 6, or 12 months, and we'd integrate science and technology to come up with a really personalized plan for them. And then the other half of the business was working with corporates to create a culture of energy, vitality, and performance, and really underpin well-being as a competitive advantage. In recent times, i.e. last 6 months, even 12 months, the working with individuals, what we call the B for you side of the business, had been more difficult. And then the pandemic struck, and we thought, well, there's no way anyone's going to be spending money on 6 or 12-month health programs at the moment. So we've as good as canned it and put all our efforts into B for B, Bodyshot for business. And in that sense, our purpose has changed, because previously it was to inspire you. It's wordy. To inspire you to prolong your health span through the use of personalized health, fitness, and well-being. You wouldn't get that tattooed unless it was all the way down a whole leg. Now it's to create happy, healthy, and resilient teams.
I quite like the way your business has evolved.
Yeah, it's got pithier.
Yeah, I like it. It's it sounds better. It sounds simpler. Do you know what I mean?
It is simpler. Yeah.
It is. Really interesting. Okay, so you're now in this position where you've managed to pivot your business online. Talk me through the kind of process of that, because obviously your clients were used to face-to-face. I'm guessing you maintained the relationship with your current clients and continued that, but the delivery was then online. How did you approach that with them, and how do they find that?
The majority of our existing clients were quite happy to move virtually because the rapport had been established. What's interesting is there isn't this trepidation about virtual. It's not seen as I can't be bothered to come to you. We've just got used to, literally, baptism of fire, got used to building rapport virtually. And I think the majority of organizations that I've been speaking to, what's interesting as well is that the leads have been coming into the business. I haven't had to go out. We are doing things like running virtual workshops, webinars to get leads. But the 3 prospects that I've got on the go at the moment came to us. And what we saw is an accumulation of months of content that we weren't really sure how much impact it was actually having a lot of the time. People had been silently watching that, but it took a pandemic for them to actually move on this. And then they weren't concerned that it was virtual because all their people are in disparate locations. So what we've done, I think one of the positives to come out of this is that we'll be very relaxed about doing virtual stuff. There'll be no more speculative coffees unless you're already in town. People will be quite comfortable going on an online, here, I've got a mug, you get a mug, and we'll do it this way. So people, to answer your question, I think existing clients and the new clients that we've taken on and prospects are pretty comfortable at doing things virtually because that's the world we're in. And it's not going to change in the next few weeks, I don't think.
Do you think, when we pivoted online, a lot of what we came to realize was actually that what we're actually giving our clients is more than we were before. They're actually getting more now than they were. The delivery's changed, obviously, but that the amount that goes into it, the amount of benefit they actually get from this new type of delivery means that they're in a better position in the outcome stage. Would you say that's the same for your clients?
Yeah, I think we are giving a bit more. I mean, the wellbeing portal, which we hadn't done a great deal with before, suddenly realized we were sat on a golden egg. And right, let's do something with this. So the first thing we did is added in some new content for the people who already had it. Two obvious bits of content were how to build and maintain a healthy immune system. And the second one was around remote working. We recorded 4 videos of no more than 5 minutes for each of those categories. So we uploaded 8 new videos to the portal. We then created a demo version of the portal with an intro video from me. We've exposed all the content in its structural form. So all the headings are there for each video, but only one of them can be clicked on. So it's an actual video. So we're not giving away our IP.
Yeah.
And that video is the first 20 seconds of a 3 to 5 minute video. So it gives people a flavor. They can see the categories of content. They can click on one just to see me in motion going through it. So it's a bit of, it's not a shell, but it's a very slimmed down version of the wellbeing portal. So we quickly put that together. In that, we've also got, we also have a wellbeing guide, which is something we just quite recently created. A management consultancy firm came to us and said, look, we've got people in Airbnbs and hotel rooms 3 or 4 nights a week. They're disconnected from the culture. They're disconnected from home life. They're unable to get into any routine with their fitness because they're in a hotel room or they're on a client site, and the client's values and culture may not be anything like their organizations, their employers. So we wrote this bespoke guide, this 61-page guide, and we rolled that out probably 3 months ago. So that's another nest egg we've been sat on, that we're able to say, right, let's get this out to as many people as possible. So we created another intro video on the portal to say, as well as the portal, we have a guide. And we've just snapshotted some of the pages on a screen show. So I'm, overlaying me talking about what it is and the problems it solves. You get to see some of the images come across the screen. So it's like a demo site that I can give someone access to show, to sell up the chain. But also, instead of showing a live portal that belongs to someone else, we've got this demo portal. Amazing.
It strikes me that you're almost, you could probably say that a lot of people out there are kind of sitting on these amazing IP or amazing assets, which they just haven't digitized yet, or they haven't. Yeah. They're almost there, but they just need a little bit of extra work. 99% of an online asset isn't quite an asset, so it's just putting in that little bit of extra work until it's complete, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe some good advice if you're at home watching this and you're a business owner and you're not quite sure how you can pivot online. There's an amazing insight from what Leanne has just said is perhaps that look at the assets you've already got, look at the physical IP you've got, the blogs you've written, the courses you've created on offline. Look at digitizing them, putting them in an online format, because I think like you said, you could be sitting on a golden egg with that.
Yeah. For sure. And it's worth really thinking about all the assets. Just do a mind map of just a list of all the assets you have in the business. Every recorded conversation you've ever had might even be something you've recorded into a voice recorder on your phone, just some thoughts that could be transcribed. So technology we've used is rev.com. So I'll talk into the voice recorder on rev.com. It'll transcribe it into a obviously you've got the audio copy, and then you've got the written copy when it gets transcribed, and someone can just tidy that up. So take out filler words like and kinda and all that stuff. And then that's a blog. That can then be repurposed. You can use the video if you shot a video, which we do quite often actually. Shoot a video, then you've got the video, the audio, and the audio can be transcribed. So it's worth thinking about every bit of content that's ever been recorded. And I think people will forgive it being a bit rough and ready at the outset, because everyone knows that somebody, we're scrambling to get this content out in different ways. And as a side issue, one of the great things about, one of the big plus sides about the situation we've been in is a lot of the providers, exercise providers that we used to go to, like our animal flow instructor, they've gone online, and it's amazing that you can walk to the bottom of the garden, do a 1 hour animal flow class and be back in the house. So round trip, hour and 5 minutes instead of 3 hours. And they're going to carry on doing it. I will carry on doing that online class. It's not quite the same. They can't come around and adjust you physically. But it's good enough, and the time saving's been incredible. So I think pivoting to online won't be a temporary thing either. I spoke to a couple of entrepreneurs in the KPI group, and they said they may stay virtual. So they may not do. If you want face to face, it's a premium, but they'll stay virtual. So I don't think this is a flash in a pan. It's worth people investing their time, their technology, their thought, their blood, sweat, and tears into pivoting online. I think a lot of things will stay this way.
I think there's an element of, we don't know how long this is going to continue for, and I think you've got to be bold, you've got to be courageous. Those companies, those businesses that are led by courageous people who embrace the change and adapt quickly, they manage to simplify their surroundings and execute. I think those are the people who will thrive in this. And I think what we're probably going to be left with, if this continues for more than a year, is, like you said, people either dropping physical or some sort of hybrid of their business emerging, where they're part physical, part online. But I think businesses are starting to realize they can do things cheaper, faster, in a more efficient way, or deliver with more power using these online tools, right? It's just accelerating what was going to happen over the next 5 years anyway, right?
Yep. So I've got a proposal in with an organization I won't name. And the proposal is 20K, which includes access to our portal, access to our guide, and some virtual workshops. And then there's a second part to it, which is about my time. Now, that might be physical or it might not, and that's about the equivalent. So I think what we might see is when you've digitized the assets, you can be a little bit more punchier, I suppose, with your pricing on those, because it's build it once, sell it multiple times, and you become the premium product, your time or your expertise or your consultancy. So it's certainly a way of positioning you even higher as a KPI. Instead of you being the product. Does that make sense? So previously I was the product in a lot of ways. Someone bought a workshop and I would go and deliver that. Now the workshop has been digitized. They can, they can buy that. And if they want me, then that's a premium, because we'll see face-to-face potentially as a premium product. Yeah. Because we haven't been able to do that. So it kind of works really nicely for anyone who's trying to get away from selling their time for money.
Yeah. It's giving you this opportunity to to get your head down, create some digital assets, which your company can rely on in the future, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. We've got some good questions actually here, Leanne. Cool. First one from Sabrina: what difficulties did you face in taking your business online? Were your clients on board immediately, or did you need to prove to them the benefits? That's an interesting one there. I know we spoke a little bit about how they've reacted to it initially. But my question to you, which was, did you feel that the outcome was better for them now? I guess, how did you articulate that to them? Because people have this barrier up. Online must be cheaper. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, that's a great question. Here's how I get around that. What you're paying for in the 1 hour, let's say it's an hour. So an hour's virtual workshop for us is about 1,200. And it would be 1,200 if I was going in person. In the old model, I'll probably adjust that. So in the future, I will come to answer the question. In the future, the virtual will be 1,200 and me will be 2K, potentially, something like that. It gives me an opportunity to reposition myself or my team as a physical, as a premium. The way I got around the why is it the same price? You're not coming in to see us, you're not traveling, blah, 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 is what they're paying for is the 8 years of knowledge, experience, trial and error, etc., that's got, that's become my expertise, not the hour of time, not the journey, the travel time. They're not paying for 3 hours of my time or 1 hour of my time. They're paying for the expertise and the knowledge to deliver the value in the session.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think it's such a good way of articulating it, isn't it?
Yeah. It's been done many times before. It's the old 99,999 to know which screw to turn and a pound to turn it. You know, that whole, why is it so expensive?
And the cost of making all the mistakes and investing all that time, energy, effort, and money into the education, and you know, the years of hard work that go into it.
Yeah.
Great.
Was it Selena? Sorry. Was it Selena's question? Sabrina. To answer that, it wasn't that tricky because everyone is in we need to make this work virtually boat. No one is saying, oh, come on, how much to come down to my office in Harley Street and, you know, we'll sneak you in. No one's asking those questions. Everyone's accepting that this has got to be virtual. So that's how to get around the cost issue. And the other thing I would say when you're going online, we're jumping around a bit, but I hope that's all right. If not, bring me back into line. Is you've got to get in my opinion, delivering a virtual workshop or a webinar is a different art form to speaking face to face. I'm an accomplished face to face speaker, and it was totally different. You've got to get comfortable with the webinar scenario really quickly. Do it now. Get some friends on a webinar over the weekend and practice putting them into breakout rooms. Practice talking to I'm talking to you because it's just weird talking to that and you being there because of the interview format. But when I'm doing a webinar, that's my captive audience. That's the only thing that I'm speaking to. Get comfortable talking to a dot. What else? Get comfortable managing a chat and a Q&A and your content at the same time. It's a real art form, I think, of right, got that plate spinning, that one, you know, that one's wobbling.
And I mean, if you want to make mistakes, now's the time to do it, not in 6 months' time when everyone else has got good at it, right? Now,
exactly. Do it now when people are a bit forgiving. Yeah.
Everyone's in the same boat. It doesn't matter if you create a webinar and forget how it works halfway through, because people will probably remind you in the comments, but in half a year's time, they'll be less forgiving.
Yeah.
You should know
exactly. Yeah. And my first one, I didn't have the camera on. Second one, the camera was on and I was using Q&A and hand raising. Now I know that chat is where everyone can talk, and, you know, a bit like turning around and going, yes, that's what I was telling you about to your neighbor if it was a face-to-face. Chats where someone can go, XYZ, that's what I was talking about, and they can all chat. Q&A is where people ask me questions. This is using Zoom. Q&A is where the questions come in and only I can see them. Yeah. So it's a one-on-one, not one-to-many. And then the hand raising is pretty good for just getting a general consensus, but just play around with all of that stuff. And you're right, now's the time that we can be a bit like, whoops, bit new, you know, like you, I haven't spent years in Zoom, so don't worry about that. And you can just move on and gloss over it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people quite like that, you know, getting a bit of personality across, especially if you're online where it's maybe a little bit harder to get personality across. You know, it's easy to build rapport in person, but, you know, sometimes having that authenticity of making a simple mistake and having a laugh about it on a Zoom call breaks the ice a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
We've got a good question here from Stuart. He's a personal trainer. Hi guys, I'm a personal trainer. Due to the pandemic, I've had to pivot online. Should I create something that caters towards this pandemic, or should I plan something different?
I would definitely create something different. So the challenges people have at the moment is time. I wouldn't assume just because they're working from home, they've got more time. I've had people say to me, I see less of my family than I did before because work has bled into home so much. The challenges, well, I would ask some of your clients, but they're probably time, access to equipment, managing the stress levels in a broad sense. So they may not be moving much, so they've got energy in that sense, but it may be depleted with their financial pressures, worrying about work, worrying about their future, having to homeschool kids. I would think for most people at home, short little pockets of exercise, structured exercise sessions, so 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then some videos helping them use their day as a way to keep active. So I think fitness is great when it's movement blended with structured exercise. So what I mean by that is give some videos showing them how they can stay active during the day, how to set their desk up so it's not super comfortable, so they need to get up and move stuff around, using the stairs just to generate some blood flow every hour, how to hack a standing desk with your ironing board or a pile of magazines and put your laptop on top of that. So it's Stuart, wasn't it? That sort of content, but don't guess, ask them. That's just my opinion on what would be helpful for them. but their priorities will be massively shifted. And I wouldn't worry too much about equipment. I'd get a tripod, an iPhone, and a lapel mic. But sometimes the rough and ready content works really well as well. It depends if you're trying to sort of really show them how to do a squat from 3 different angles, or whether you're just shooting a video saying, right, this is how you get more movement into the day. This is how you hack a sitting desk into a standing desk.
Completely. Yeah, it's really, really, really interesting. I think there's probably 2 ways of looking at it. You know, you've got the potential for this to continue for a long time. Either way, it's sensible to create an online business, a business which has a large portion of its revenue coming from an online digital asset, whether that's a course or whether that's your own time, ideally from an asset, not your own time. But also, you know, creating content for now, like you said, you know, COVID home training hacks, you know, things that are relevant for people now. So thinking about the future long term, but thinking about now. And one of the questions we you know, I typically face from people who go online, and, you know, especially personal trainers, right, where they could go online and try and offer a workout class or a training class, and why would someone pay for that when they can go on YouTube and they can get all this for free? And I think from what I've seen work with you know, our students around the world, is there are 3 things that make an online training program or an online course really powerful, especially if you're the one delivering it. And that's familiarity. They know, like, and trust you, which is a huge thing. You know, if you're the instructor at the front, someone they know, like, and trust already, which is why it makes sense to dive into your own community, then, you know, people are normally willing to pay for that. And then I think accountability as well, keeping people on track, and then also community, you know, creating that tribe, creating that sense of community, and really trying to solidify your culture. And, you know, Facebook groups like we're doing here with FTEN X Academy is a brilliant way to do that.
Yeah. But also bring in, a bit like you're doing, bring in other experts. If you're a personal trainer, do you have a nutritionist? Do you have someone who's an expert in foam rolling that can do a bit of a foam rolling thing? So also bring in other people to enhance what you're offering. But I wouldn't be afraid about going online as a personal trainer. We still have some personal training clients from way back, that we have a personal trainer that looks after them. And some of them have said that they actually prefer online because they can do, instead of 1 hour and they have to go to a park, and there's lots of things. I've got one client in mind, lots of things that get in the way between her making it at 5:30 and not. And that's work. She's forgotten her kit. She hasn't drunk enough water. These are all things she's actually said, and I'm not mocking. They're all little barriers that mean that 5:30 session can sometimes be volatile. But the half-hour online session in the morning, she just gets up, has a glass of water, puts her kit on, does it. It's 30 minutes. Anyone can get through 30 minutes, sometimes an hour. When I've had exercise sessions that are an hour, and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I'm up for this. Half an hour, you just think I can do half an hour. So they want to carry on in that vein. And that's fantastic, because that's an hour or half an hour. You're not traveling. And you can conserve your energies, but still deliver that valuable session to the client. Yeah,
absolutely. We've got some other awesome questions today. It's a lot of engagement going on. Loads of questions on the right hand side. You can probably see.
Oh yeah, I wasn't clicking on my comments.
Loads of awesome questions.
Oh, that's livened things up for me. Yeah, I wasn't seeing any of that before.
Technology. If you are a freelancer, how would you adapt if you couldn't leave the house?
How would I adapt if I couldn't? Well, that's the beauty of the way we've got things set up. It wouldn't make a huge amount. I'm not leaving the house much, firstly.
You're not leaving the house.
It wouldn't make a huge amount of difference. Yeah. We've got the portal that's there. I can add content to that at any time. If I want a professional looking video, I'll do what I've just done, which is walk 7 minutes up the road to my office, get the blind down, the soft boxes out, and shoot a video and add that to the portal. Our team is global anyway. The guide is already written, and we just bespoke that. And the virtual workshops are still delivered live, although we record them. And I am producing new material. So all of that can be done without having to leave the house, basically.
Yeah, completely agree. There's always something you can do, which leads on quite well to this question from Timothy Fair Matthews. Do you think every industry can pivot online? And if not, what are the options? So, events, tourism, hospitality, airlines.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but I can just give you my 2 cents worth. I mean, for example, there's down at my office, there's a cafe. It's run by Volcano Coffee Works, who also produce coffee. They are still selling their coffee online and doing delivery. But because the cafes had to close, they've thought, well, what are people spending money on at the moment? Veg boxes. So they've pivoted into veg box delivery. All in the space of, I think, a week. And they've got the client base that drink coffee. The clients also
they've got the distribution, they've got the market,
and they've got the
brand. All they need
yeah.
to do is change one aspect, right? Which is
Exactly,
the item. So
yeah,
really,
so that
really
triangle of exactly that. So that's what they've done. So I suppose it's about thinking, what can you do? What do people want? What are they spending money on? What's logistically possible? I've seen cafes doing delivery service. There's a pub up the road that does a delivery service to a roast dinner.
Yeah,
it's actually, I might try Sunday. As long as I don't spill the gravy, I don't want it turning up all over the place. I don't know how they do it, but I mean, it can't be that complicated, I suppose. Just have a decent lid on a plate. You probably have to go and collect it. Who else have I seen doing interesting things? I mean, that's probably it. I'm not really an expert on that.
So there's a few different people I'm working with right now to help them pivot online. One lady is a chef at she runs a Thai restaurant, and this is quite a fun story. So she's no one wants to buy, or a lot of people are not buying food from her shop as they used to, for some reason, whatever that is. So what we've helped her do is pivot into this experience, right? So people are bored at home. Now she's got this cooking club. So every Friday they get their food delivered, and then on live she takes them through a cookery class where they learn to cook that food, and it's a monthly subscription.
Yeah, brilliant.
I've seen stuff like that. When you're talking about physical businesses, I've seen stuff like that, which is just super, super cool. And I think on top of that, you've got the ability now to really build community and to really start developing content and ideas and methodologies and building assets. I mean, one of the things we spoke about yesterday with Richard Woods was we talked about tourism, actually, and we spoke about how now's a great time to dive into, to play with people's imagination. When this is all over, here are the top 10 places you need to visit. Here's the, even within your own country, what are the top 12 things to do in Dubai, when you're able to, and if you can really start to build community around it, start to develop these blogs, these articles, these videos, you can start to be well known for that. So when you do go back to your physical or hybrid business, I think you're in a really good position, right?
Yeah, I agree with all of that, and it's all about how you present it as well. So Daniel Priestley of the DEMP program, they've now, by the sounds of it, they've put everything online. So he's now saying, why would you come to town for a whole day? That takes a lot of time. People are traveling and they have to get up early and they're getting home late. And anyway, people prefer to consume content in 2 to 3 hour blocks. Now, I've no idea where he's got that from, whether there's any science behind people preferring to consume content or learn, in 2 to 3 hour blocks. But it suits his narrative. It sounds plausible. It's not unreasonable. It's not misleading. It's not deceptive. So you position, don't you? We've moved online. We've realized that people prefer to consume content in smaller bites. So we're doing 15, 30-minute sessions now. You can access them whenever you want. They're there on the portal or whatever it might be. It's a great opportunity to reset, and people, they're going to have to consume content or learn or follow your programs in different ways. So you've got this opportunity to kind of steer things in the direction you want. Does that make sense? You can
100%. It strikes me that you've obviously managed this whole pivot really, really well. You've sort of taken it in your stride. I'm sure there were some really difficult moments as well, no doubt, dealing with this. It's obviously a massive thing.
I'll stop you there, because actually, to be totally honest with you, the pivot we found pretty easy, pretty exciting and reinvigorating, because we were having quite a tough year up until COVID-19. And it actually, as in a lot of senses, this whole situation came as quite good timing for us, because suddenly everyone was in a position of struggle, without any sort of schadenfreude whatsoever, i.e. we weren't taking any pleasure in that, certainly not in the pandemic. But it did suddenly, we were on the same boat as everyone else. Everyone was like, oh, what we're going to do, we're struggling. What we're doing isn't working as well as we want it to. And it injected us with a whole ton of excitement about, right, let's see what we've got. Let's switch. We put our focus on these areas. So I feel quite reinvigorated as a result of it. And some of that is a mindset
ignited that entrepreneurial passion to solve a problem, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And we've also had a bit of government support because we've got premises, and that's not been unwelcome. So we've tried to use it in a positive way. This is a great opportunity to reset, and that's always quite exciting. Let's go back through the values, back through the mission, back through the purpose. What assets do we have? What's our product ecosystem? Are we sure we know what people want? Have we asked the questions and talked to as many people as possible? So it isn't that things were going amazingly well and then the bottom dropped out of it for us. Actually, it was more that we were struggling, and then this opportunity to pivot.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. We hear that a lot. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are going through this, and it does become quite exciting purely because we're almost addicted to that problem solving. And we see this more as a challenge than as being a victim in all of this. It's almost like stepping up to the challenge, and so I think that is quite exciting, believe it or not, for quite a lot of people out there. Obviously, ignoring the massive, or not ignoring, but taking into account the massive kind of medical issue which is going on. You spoke about support from the government. Obviously, in the UK, that's awesome. UK businesses are getting some really good support. I know we are in the UK, which has really, really helped. Especially with the help with employed staff, that sort of stuff. In terms of sort of mentors or business community, that sort of stuff, is there any other support you're getting in that department or anything that's helped you?
The KPI group, so the Key Person of Influence program, which is DENT, which I've mentioned a few times, run by Daniel Priestley, that community is incredible. If I've got any question, in fact, I could probably have a house built because there's someone in there that builds homes, someone in there can do the conveyancing, someone else in there can do this. You could literally have a house built, metaphorically and literally. That's been a great source. So, for example, I wondered about how to charge myself out on a retainer. It couldn't be my normal day rate because that wouldn't be feasible. So I put a post in the forum. Someone came back to me. We had a chat this afternoon. So that's been a great community. So Daniel Priestley's live. So I know the KPI group is private, but his oversubscribed group on Facebook, which I'm sure you've talked about before, Seb, that's publicly available for anyone. I would recommend any entrepreneur gets in that group. There's some really great videos that Dan's putting out, which I found really quite motivating. Some hit the mark, some don't, but the content isn't aimed at me, it's at everyone. So you just take what you need and leave the rest. Other mentors. So one of my clients I have a bit of a time swap with. I do some coaching for him. He's a finance director and he gives me some advice. That's been pretty. I read a lot as well. So I wouldn't call these people mentors, but I read quite a bit on, not just on work stuff, but also from other people who are just quite wise in terms of I suppose life stuff, values-based, purpose-based living. So yeah, the KPI group is the main source of support.
Amazing. What's the biggest sort of insight you've gained from the KPI group then during this, and how it's kind of helped you with this transition online?
I don't know if this is the biggest one, but it's the first one to come to mind when Dan Priestley said words not to use: help, online, learning, and what was the other one? Webinar. He said people don't value webinars, so we changed our language. We just call them workshops. It's obvious that they're virtual now. No one's like, oh, is that face to face or is it virtual? It's virtual. We know that. So it's still a workshop, and that's the other thing as well. Language. If you start to use different language, you might think of it differently. You're still delivering whatever you call your sessions. They just happen to be through the medium of online. We still run workshops, high value workshops. They just happen to be virtual now through Zoom. Avoiding the words like learning. People don't want to learn. They want the problem solved for them. They don't want to go through the whole learning process. Online, he thought cheapened it slightly, and it's redundant anyway because we all know what we're talking about. So that was quite interesting. Revisiting the values piece I thought was interesting. What else? There were a couple other things I can't think off the top of my head now. Other things will come to me, but there's been quite a lot of nuggets in that oversubscribed group.
Yeah, definitely.
That Dan comes out
with. It's amazing. Again, this is what we're trying to create here with FTEN X Academy. Having lots of inspiring business owners in one place who are all trying to solve the same sort of problem. Within this group, we've actually got an application form, and we've had about 800 people apply for it. There's only about 140 in the group, and everyone in this group has to be a business owner who's of a certain caliber, who's trying to grow their business during this pandemic and looking to go online. So everyone's very much on the same wavelength, which means that all the advice we give is geared towards that, and all the advice other people are giving each other is geared towards that, which I think is incredibly empowering and powerful, right?
Definitely, yeah. I'll come back to the blended solution was the other thing I was thinking about with Dan. But yeah, I mean, there's a great power in having a room full of people with a shared kind of purpose or shared experience. And when I said that when the pandemic struck and other businesses was in a similar position to us, which is like, oh right, what do we do? We're kind of out of ideas. We want to change things. That felt powerful. So just to be clear on that, I wasn't like, yes, people are in trouble. Woo. It's just like it was a sense of collection, a sense of community, a sense of connectedness between all of us. So that if you could harness that in terms of going online, if you can still maintain that connection between your community or even creating connected, because that's one of the big issues at the moment. People feel disconnected from their normal lives, from nature, potentially from each other as well. So if you can help create that sense of connection, that's what I think drives us as human beings. To come back to what else I've got from the group, what had been motivating, it's the idea of a blended solution. That was a great bit of advice from Dan. What he means is don't just offer a face-to-face solution or a written guide or an online solution, but blend it. So what I'll do when we can get out a bit more is the guide is there. It's scalable. Anyone can access that. It's a written document. Our portal is out there. That's scalable. Anyone with a @abc.com email address, whatever company I'm selling to, can get access to that content. And then there'll be me, a high value resource that can come in and do work within a business as well. So it's a kind of blended solution, face-to-face, online. There's a tangible guide that can be printed off or it's online, not online, but it's a PDF kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's a blend of solutions. So if you want to listen to your content, great. If you want to watch it, great. If you want to read it, great. It's all there for you. And then there's me coming in every now and again and repositioning.
Amazing. I love that. It's again, using this time to create assets, which when you do come back, those assets are embedded into your offerings, which just multiplies the value, right? I think that's brilliant.
I mean, it's going to this whole thing will change the way that we work. We'll be we as customers and consumers will be really comfortable with online. Some of us might have a preference to getting back to face-to-face when it happens. But like I say, I think you can position yourself as face-to-face will be a premium. Literally, it'll be a premium, and you can price accordingly. And for those that don't want to pay that, that's great because you've got the digital assets which are now generating income, having been paid for effectively.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got time for someone here says, "Love that, Leanne. Harnessing connectivity during this time." Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look. We've got one more question, guys. Let's see, one more question. Lots of awesome questions to choose from. This is a good one here, I think. Where is it? Yes. How feasible is it to pivot your business online yourself? Would you recommend using the help of experts instead in certain areas?
Yeah, I would. All I do is I record content. It depends on your skill set, but you've got to think about opportunity cost. And there's a question I'd like to answer if we've got time, which links to this point. You've also got to think about managing your energy levels. We can only do so much. If you're creating, recording, editing, uploading, you've got to preserve your energy if you're doing all of that yourself. We have a graphic designer down in Brighton who does amazing work. He's out in Spain at the moment, so he's totally locked down. We've got a digital marketing consultant who's based in Brighton. She sets up our Facebook ads and does some guidance around that. Our podcast guy is out in the Philippines. So everyone, all I do really is lay down content, shoot a video, or write copy, and obviously quite a lot of delivery, but in terms of asset creation, and then it goes to someone else so it can be made to look great. And the question that caught my eye actually is how often do you sorry, go on.
No, go for it.
Just talking about energy and managing energy. How often do you suggest running online sessions? One a day? What's too little or too much? It's a question that caught my eye. If you're not used to running online sessions, I find them quite draining. Well, not draining, but energy intensive. And like I say, I've done a lot of speaking. I'm represented by a speakers agency. It's a different kind of energy because you're not getting a lot of feedback. You're not getting a lot of interaction unless you actively seek it with getting people to hand raise and interact in the chat and Q&A box. And then it's not. You can have the cameras on, but I had 100 people on at the BritVic session last week.
Yeah.
100 little cameras. They may as well be off. I can't.
Yeah.
It's tiny little. And actually, it's just another thing that you're keeping an eye on as well. And a lot of people will turn their cameras off. So I would see how you go, but I wouldn't schedule more than one in a day unless you're quite experienced at it. Because they could be. You need to prepare yourself for the webinar in the same way you would if you were going on stage. Decompress a little bit afterwards. So I wouldn't do more than one a day unless you're quite experienced with the webinar technology, as well as speaking and running a group. And if you can, get someone to co-facilitate, which is my next step as well. Manage your energy well is the upshot of that.
Amazing. Yeah, brilliant advice. Manage your energy well. Love that. Let's have a look here. One more statement here. That is amazing, and you're adapting but still staying in the same industry. From Rich Harrison.
Oh, thank you. It's all possible in most. Not in every industry, but in mine, it was very feasible.
Definitely. Leanne, that was absolutely amazing. What final words of advice or positivity or optimism would you give to any business owner who's watching this right now, has been pretty inspired by what you've done, and would love to hear some positive words?
I think it's a great opportunity to reset, redefine how you want to do business. The only thing or the caveat I would put is just to managing your energy is probably the message I'd leave. It's a great opportunity to do something different that will stand you in really good stead afterwards. Don't have any fear about the technology. It's just practice. I was a little apprehensive about webinars as well, far more so than I would have been if I was going out and getting on a stage. So get familiar with the technology, practice and all that kind of stuff. But consider that recovery, how you recover as a business owner, is as important as all the effort you're putting in. So just make sure you've got enough recovery planned into your day, that you're managing your energy. Energy comes from one place. It doesn't come from a jar, but imagine it comes out of a jar. We've already got quite a bit of that energy depleted because of emotional worry, maybe some financial pressure, uncertainty, fear, if that's relevant. So it's depleted some of that energy. Make sure you use what's remaining wisely, and make sure you're thinking about replenishing the energy you're expending with the kind of the emotional load. And I mean that in a really positive sense. You've got to look after, as business owners, look after yourself, look after your energy. And go for it. We've got a wonderful opportunity to do something a little different, redefine the way you do business. And for most people, it can be done. There are some tough industries like hospitality, sure, but even then, some companies are finding ways to work around it. And I wish everyone all the best as well.
Amazing. Really, really appreciate that. Some amazing insights and feedback. Guys, if you're watching this and you've gathered some great insights, give us a like on the video, or even a heart if you've really loved it. Leanne, how can everyone get in touch with you? I know you've got an amazing podcast, which I was privileged to be a part of as well.
Yeah, you were. Yep. So Remove the Guesswork is the podcast, Health, Fitness and Wellbeing for Busy Professionals who've never been busier. That's on iTunes. It's on our website, which is bodyshotperformance.com. The best way actually to contact me, we're Bodyshot Performance on Facebook, is on LinkedIn. I'm Leanne Spencer 1975. A collective gasp there that I am so much older than I look. Leanne Spencer 1975 on LinkedIn. Connect with me there. We put most of, if not all of our content out through LinkedIn. And then I can have a look at what other people are doing as well. That would be cool.
Amazing. Leanne, thank you so much for coming on. Really, really appreciate it.
Yep, a pleasure. Thanks for having me. All the best to everyone.